day that I die.
And this will be the day that May 2019 dies. Bye-bye, Miss America Pie. And at the end of our 10 o'clock show this morning, Scott Munt and I will chase it out the door, not to be seen again. Coming in the door this morning, dressed not in Las Vegas style, but boy, he's ready to go to work, I can tell. That's Mr. Ron Nelson, Commercial Properties. Good morning.
Good morning. Casual Friday, convertible out. Supposed to be a warm day today. I don't have any orange ties or really anything orange for that matter. I need to supplement my wardrobe, I guess, huh?
Well, it's just kind of a day that we have a company that's featuring orange.
Yeah.
Fleet Farms.
Yeah.
Open this morning. And we're going to visit them in the 10 o'clock hour. So.
I think more Tennessean as a Husker and USF guy, this orange thing just doesn't.
I know it does.
Yeah.
I know.
So.
It's good. But it was good to have you in Vegas doing all the things that you did. But you want to get back to basics today.
Back to basics. Yeah. It's funny, Bill, and this program we've done for I don't know how many years, but
5 years.
Commercial real estate, just talking about things happening in the market, but also, a lot of our listeners, are commercial real estate touches a lot of people's lives that, you don't directly think of sometimes, but we all office out of properties. And so, a lot of folks are in charge of growing the company into a new space or something like that. And, I think of people, seasoned veterans in business, and yet I'm surprised at some of the questions they ask me sometimes, meaning, they just still don't understand how our business works. So I thought I'd just today touch on a couple of areas of our business. There's a lot of brokers in our town, and, it's great to work with a broker, and, but sometimes people don't know how to do it. And while that sounds maybe strange, I thought I'd
ABCs.
Just sort of cover some basics, to get the most mileage if you're going to work with a broker. So here's one of the things that surprises me. A client will call me and ask questions about a property that they might want to buy or lease, and they say, well, I called on this property and I had the broker show it to me, and now I wanted you to help me. And I'm like, well, why didn't you call me to show you the property? And they're like, well, but it was their sign on the property, so don't I have to go through them? And so here's the challenge with that. If you want, let's say, our company or, your broker to help you, and you work in real estate business,
Absolutely.
So you understand this. The principles are similar in residential. So, you call a broker and you have them show the property. And then later that same broker gets a call from another broker saying, oh, well, I'm representing these guys. And it gets confusing, and the last thing you want, because, we all try to get along together, as brokers. I feel like we have to, we work together, and, the last thing you need in your deal is your brokers not to be on the same page. Now you got this side distraction in your deal where brokers are potentially, arguing over fees or arguing over who represents who and all that. And so here's the best way to handle that. If you're in that situation, somebody calls you up and says, I want to present this property to you. The best way to answer that is, if you want it to work this way is, I usually work with, Ron Nelson or this other broker. And would you be so kind to forward that information to him, to my broker? And actually the broker making the contact to you is going to respect you for that and, recognize, we're not going to get into any of these petty side distractions, with brokers. Because I don't know, but I always sometimes worry that, there might be brokers out there, and I'm talking, out of town guys, but I mean, things get kind of crazy sometimes. You just sometimes wonder if there's a broker out there trying to sabotage your deal, in favor of a different one that they might get paid more on or whatever. So
never happens, does it?
Yeah. So let me just explain how we work or how our company works, And first of all, we have access to every property in the city, every broker, every property. And, some people think calling the agent on the sign is the only way to get information on the property. It's not. I mean, it's fine. You can do that. But I'll give you an example where that can get a little crazy. Today, I'm with a client, and we're going to be looking at 10 properties. Well, to get narrowed down to the 10 that I'm going to show him, we probably went through over 20 properties just to narrow it down to the 10. Well, could you imagine making 20 phone calls to try to find information about all these different properties? So by working with one company, you have a single point of contact. Every broker's information is different. So what we have is a very, cool system that puts it in a matrix, and kind of compares apples to apples. Because I'll tell you what, I'll get 5 different brokers' information, and I can't always even extrapolate, what's on there, to get it to apples. So anyway, that is just something that, that we do that, is popular with clients, is we just represent them on.
Let me stop you, because as a listener, because you often hear in residential real estate that there is a multiple listing service. Is that the same in commercial real estate?
It's not, and I mean, maybe that's where people do get some confusion. They're just, they'll say, I just don't know how it works in commercial. Well, it without getting into the weeds and the details, we have a similar system within our local brokerage community where, as different firms, we all work together. We all work together very well, and it functions the same way as an MLS system, but it's not an MLS
it's
per se.
Smaller, and it's a little bit more organized for the commercial side.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it. So yeah, we have instant access to all properties, and so kind of how it works.
So how far does that territory go out? Because I know I hear you every now and then. You're talking about between here and Harrisburg. Does it go out countywide, statewide,
well, let's bring back the whole Vegas discussion. You'll meet with companies that want to do a rollout in South Dakota, maybe South Dakota, North Dakota, maybe just, Sioux Falls and a 200-mile radius. And we kind of joke sometimes with these people that get the Dakotas as a territory and say, who did you make mad, or whatever, because it's just kind of a popular way we poke fun at ourselves a little bit, on a national level, but to just say, oh, wow, the Dakotas. But my point is, they will certainly want a single point of contact, because you start getting into a Mitchell or a Huron or a Brookings or Watertown, and lots of times you can't find, as a national that have certain, let's just say, high standards as, what they look for in their brokers.
The high standards, and that's the difference.
Well, they just don't feel that they're finding the capabilities in commercial brokerage, in some of these smaller towns, or they just don't want to go try to find the one guy in Mitchell or maybe the 2 guys in Mitchell that might understand commercial, So it's a treat, to them to just say, wow, so you can help us out of Sioux Falls, you could help us in Fargo, you can help us in, Des Moines, you can help us in Omaha, Lincoln. And, I have. And the predecessor guy that was on before me, Mr. Ostad, Dave and I just did a deal a couple of years ago in Lincoln. It happened to be while my daughter was going down there. But no, we've done work in Lincoln. And Matt, now the local manager, was the store manager in Lincoln at the time, and he's doing club fittings for me. And just seems to feel like he owes me a special debt of gratitude and going to do a great job for me in club fitting, because the store we did for him in Lincoln does so well for them down there. So, so we work, we call it a 5-state region, all of the states that touch South Dakota, except Wyoming. I don't go out there. I'm not going to be of much value to you, but I can be a cowboy, but just probably too far for me to go to Cheyenne and help you with your commercial real estate. So we've got a network that we refer on in those situations.
How do they reach you?
Nelson Commercial Real Estate, or N Commercial on the web for short.
Do we have any PS to what we talked about in Vegas, or anything maybe that'll come from Vegas?
Well, the whole thing and the key to that is just follow through, and so the next 6 months we'll be following through what we did in the Mad Scramble last week in Vegas, and we'll just find out, how successful, we were. So, it's just now, like you say, back home, back to basics, and nose to the grindstone, and following up from all the meetings and phone calls and so forth that we had in Vegas, and looking for
Was it a different feel about Sioux Falls this year?
Not about Sioux Falls. The industry has a different feel, and as we've been
All
talking
the comings and goings.
Well, yeah, and just kind of this whole reinvention thing. And the one sidebar of interest that this year, first time really it's ever happened to me at the Vegas show, because the Vegas Shopping Center show is largely a retail show. It's largely, stores, store landlords, things like that are there. And yet I stumbled across an industrial candidate. And, you think, well, industrial and retail, well, how does that work together? But really, we're talking about this whole shifting of, online and things like that. So fulfillment is a big thing. Windchill is kind of doing it on the frozen side, but, you hear of all these Amazon warehouses to, get closer to, the 1 or 2 day fulfillment. So industrial is a, interesting component that is getting implemented more into retail than we've seen in the past. And, I got an industrial deal out of the Vegas retail show last week.
All right. We got back to the basics. Again, how do they find you?
Nelson Commercial or N Commercial on the web.
All right. Appreciate you, Ron Nelson. We'll talk next week.
Thanks, Bill.